Welcome back to the DeeBrief YouTube channel. I'm Chase Alfasi, and this is the Oppo preview for Melbourne's Round 12 matchup against the Saints. I'm joined by Jake from Saints TV. Jake, welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to chat some footy. It's been a few years, I think, since I've been on the DeeBrief. Or actually, this might be my debut. I'm thinking. Potentially, maybe I've done one video before, but it's been a while, and usually Melbourne are in better form than the Saints when we do it, and that's the case this week again, so it should be interesting.
I'm not a Saints fan, obviously, but I feel like I have been following the Saints TV for a long time. Not sure why. I just accidentally pressed follow a long time ago, but no, big fan of your work. Big fan of the post-game talks in the car.
Yeah, no, it's very therapeutic. More so recently, last couple of weeks, it's getting a workout, my car, but yeah, hopefully this weekend it'll be a little bit different, but we'll see.
So talk to me as a Saints fan. From an opposition fan, it just feels like much of the same, that being mediocrity. Is that what you guys feel? Is that kind of just the acceptance and I guess the tolerance from St Kilda supporters at the moment?
I don't think St Kilda supporters tolerate this sort of performance. I think we're used to it, so it's not like a great shock, if I'm honest, but perhaps our expectations were maybe a little bit skewed. I think the messaging from the club on field is, debuting so many youngsters playing such a young team. It kind of speaks to, one aspect, which is maybe we're not planning for right now, but for, the next 4 or 5 years. And when you've gone through the grind and you want to see success, you kind of, get a bit frustrated when these form slumps happen, particularly after being 3-1. That we started so well. Kind of the opposite to your boys, where you started poorly and picked up, but you've beaten some good teams. We've beaten, I thought Port were a good scalp to get away from home, but that turns out not to be that true. But it's just, I think it's just a week to week. We don't know what St Kilda's going to turn up. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we won on the weekend, but it also wouldn't surprise me if we got done by 10 goals. So
yeah,
it's just, I'm just in that zone at the moment of trying to find the little wins each week. And maybe you were like that in the first 4 or 5 weeks, finding those more individual positives. And the last couple of weeks haven't been that many, if I'm honest.
Speaking to St Kilda people that I know, after that loss against West Coast, obviously, you don't want to be that team that loses to West Coast and gives them their first win, but it was almost like, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe this is the year where we finally bottom out and get a top 5 pick. Do you share that same view?
Nah. Like, I don't. Yeah, watch my review after that. It's the most viewed one of the year, and it's because I was heartbroken. It might have been reality seeping in a little bit, but I was kind of annoyed that so many Saints people were so negative in the lead up and kind of saw it coming. And I don't want to say that I'm delusional in thinking we couldn't, there wasn't a possibility of losing that game, but I thought we were at least better than that. And to be proven wrong was disappointing. We were better against the Suns. Genuinely, we were better and could have really won that game in the third quarter, kick 1-6. But the West Coast game was possibly a perfect storm. And, we're just mentally fragile. When a team gets on a run, we just kind of buckle and can't handle the heat. And they brought the heat. Genuinely, they were upwards of 220 pressure rating that whole game. And they did carry that through for basically a half. 2.5 quarters against the Crows. Then they fell away. But they were good for a half against the Crows, despite the score looking one-sided.
Yep. And have you caught much of the D's over the past few weeks, at least? Do you watch much footy away from the Saints?
I watch when I can. The D's game this week kind of overlapped with our game, so I listened to a lot of it on the radio. So I kind of heard the vibe, and you were on top and playing really exciting, fast football, and Cozzy was dominating. So I watched the highlights earlier just to prep for this, and the D's, they've got, I don't know, they're kind of gone the opposite of what I thought. I thought they were very similar to Carlton in that they were a very heavy contested team, and if they don't win the contest, they look really slow on the outside. But you've actually blooded some youngsters that are kind of helping you on the outside, and Langford's been impressive. And then I guess some of your stars are starting to pick up form, like Clayton Oliver, talk about him every week. I'm sure you're sick of talking about him in a negative light, but his form is, from my end at least, looking pretty ominous.
Yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks from Clary. I think definitely took steps forward against Brisbane, and then against Sydney, he was almost back to his, I wouldn't say his peak, because that's almost best in the competition, but 30 disposals, he was just back to being clean. And when Clary's at his best, he's doing the tough work, the hard work in and under, and using the ball by hand really effectively. And people sometimes say, oh, Clary, he just gets cheap touches, or he doesn't really hurt opposition. I think where he does hurt opposition is by his hands, and maybe that's not as obvious on the eye as guys like Jordan Dawson and Errol Goulden, who can, who can hurt by foot. So that's really where I mark Clary, and I think he was almost back to his best in the last couple of weeks. So let's talk round 12. Melbourne Saints in Alice, and it's not the first time we've played each other there. I think we had a match up in 2020. Was that right?
That is correct, yeah. I'd like to think I remember that game, but for memory, we were down for quite a bit. We made a run, I think, late third quarter or before halftime. Kicked a goal on the siren almost at halftime, if my memory serves correct. And then it was kind of a stalemate. And I think you kicked a couple of late goals in that game to kind of seal it. But it was a close, like, uneventful game for memory.
Yeah, I think it was low.
You don't want to watch the replay of that one.
No, it was very low scoring. I think, we got the win in a close one. Petrarca kicked 4 out of our 8 goals, and he kicked that last goal in a 1v3 inside 50. Yeah. Like, I think it was against Wilkie. Just got a quick kick, and it somehow bounced through. I think that was an upset at the time. You guys were pretty. You guys were all right that season in 2020. You won a final.
Yeah. We beat the Dogs in the first final, and then lost to the eventual premier in Richmond in the semi. Yeah, so it wasn't a bad year.
Many of the Melbourne fans, I'm not sure they're completely across the Saints at the moment. Can you give us an idea of some of the growth of the St Kilda players this season that potentially on Sunday Arvo, they're going to be like, well, this guy can play?
I mean, the obvious one is Nasai Wanganeen-Malira. His growth was kind of... It's weird. Like, I don't think growth is linear with certain players, but for Naz, everyone's kind of, even before he hit this type of form, was almost bookmarking it. Like, he will be in the All-Australian squad. He will be in that conversation as like our best player. And I kind of thought, yeah, he's showing signs, but maybe give him another year or two. Don't put the pressure on the kid. But he's really just done it. Like, he's already met those expectations, which is really exciting. Obviously, we haven't signed him, and that's the big sticking point and what makes us all nervous. If we bottom out and lose someone like him, that is a massive hit. Mitch Owens is another one that's been really exciting. His set shot kicking is the one weakness in his game. He kicked 2-2 on the weekend, but he also had 25, and I think that was the second most disposals he's ever had. And he's pinch hitting in the ruck, goes as a rover, plays as a second tall with Sharman, and he's just incredibly physical. So he's probably one to look out for. And obviously Jack Higgins, I think, although he's been around longer than those other two, I think his form is proving as one of the more damaging smalls in the comp. And obviously Cozzy's form's been great, but he goes, apart from the weekend where he didn't kick a goal, I don't think, he's kicked 2 or more in like 6 games, 7 games. He was, he's kicked 28, 29 goals, 3rd or 4th in the Coleman. So he's always a bit of a tricky matchup because he does play bigger than he is. Maybe because our ball delivery is so shit and we just bomb it in and treat him as a 6'5" tall, but he's made do with that. And yeah, if he gets off the leash, usually we win.
Yeah. When I look at St Kilda, I'm looking at your distributors. I'm looking at Sinclair and definitely Nazar Wanganeen-Malira, even Wilkie and Webster and the like. Is that potentially an area of the game where you take some confidence going, all right, maybe we can beat the Melbourne press? Because I think that's the way that the D's have been defending recently. I mean, we didn't really let Nick Blakey and Riley Bice and Florent and Lloyd kind of use their foot skills. Are you confident that St Kilda can potentially beat a press?
I'd like to say yes, but it's more than just 2 blokes. Like, we rely so heavily on Sinks and in particular Naz. And like, Naz had 36 on the weekend, kicked a goal, got 902 metres gained. He'll get coaches' votes, might even sneak a Brownlow vote. I don't know. but we break down after his kick. So he'll open up the game, and because he's playing more off half back, if we play him in the centre or on a wing, his kicks inside 50, yes, we might be able to break that down and hit a target, but once it's out of his or Sinks' hands, that's where it kind of breaks down. The ball use, the pressure, it's just even decision making on the weekend. It's a hard watch when Naz and Sinks link up and they open up the game, and then it gets to someone and they butcher a handball, then it comes back the other way, and you're kind of like, bloody hell, like if we had another 2 or 3 like them would be good. And I think we are a couple gun mids or just gun players in general off trusting that system, but we are set up to do it. Whether we can execute it is a completely different ball game. We had moments against the Suns, could have won the game, butchered it with the ball. So we create enough, but we just don't finish our work.
Got it. So from memory, last season, I feel like St Kilda allowed the opposition team to kick mark around the back. Is that the same? Is it the same this season? Because just looking at Melbourne, I know we like to be patient with our ball use. We're happy to switch it. I think we're second for marks, and 87 of them are uncontested. So we're kind of happy to play that game. Is that the same the way St Kilda are playing this season?
Each week it feels like we defend a little differently. Like Fremantle, we played very one-on-one, and they had to chip it around because anytime they looked for an option, there was a man there. And we played a rotating 1v1 sort of setup where whoever was closest would then take the man and vice versa. They would rotate, and that worked really effectively. But on the weekend, we had a mix of one-on-one and zone, and I think generally, because we're set up probably more defensively sound than we are in the attack, we're kind of happy for a team to have the ball. Although I think most weeks we do end up having more disposals. We had more, I think, against the Suns. Obviously less against Fremantle because they just chipped it around the whole game. But it's a week-to-week thing. So I think we do invite teams to just bomb it in the 50, probably more than other teams, just because we don't have that sort of key defender. So teams are almost invited more to go for it because it's just Wilkie. And that puts our defense under enormous pressure. So it wouldn't surprise me if the D's, despite it being, something that you've done well this year, play a little bit more aggressive because, we don't have that Sam Taylor down there. Despite Wilkie being great, it's Cal Wilkie and Caminiti and Keeler at the moment. So pretty inexperienced down there without Dougal Howard. So I think if we go man on man, you'll chip it around, and if we want to come at you, you'll probably just try and play through us. Yeah,
just on your backs, like I rate Wilkie very highly, and I know you probably don't have the big 200 centimeter key back, but it's not like Melbourne have the key forwards either. I know when you play Carlton, you come up against Curnow and Mackay. That's a dangerous proposition, and maybe Brisbane with Hipwood and Morris, and in the past Danaher. Like Melbourne don't have that, so I guess as a St Kilda supporter, you're probably not too worried about Aiden Johnson and Harrison Petty dominating against those guys.
Don't Petty. Like I can already imagine he'll have like an all-time game. Like we turn. No offense to Petty, he's a solid contributor in a good team. But
no offense taken, it's all right.
No, he's a good player. Like I'd take him in the forward line right now, man. We need a tall. So if we can rent him for a week, that'd be great. But it just depends on our pressure. Like if we don't press in the midfield and Petrarca and these guys get plenty of ball and they're getting clean ball and it's under no pressure, they're going to hit him up. He'll kick 5 or 6 just by doing the basics. Keeler or actually Caminiti probably takes Petty. How tall's Petty? 200?
195, I think.
Okay, so yeah, Hammer's 198, so that's probably more like for like, and Wilkie on Fritsch maybe, I think, and then yeah, Keeler inexperienced on someone else. I think that's probably the best bet.
Yeah, I reckon Jake Melksham might go to Wilkie and play that negating role. Well, that's what he's done at least the past couple of weeks on McGovern, Andrews, and I believe Rampy on Sunday. So potentially you could look at that. And then going from talls to smalls, like you got 2 of the best small forwards at either end in Jack Higgins and Cozzy Pickett. Just on Cozzy, like where are your plans for that? Because I know Windhager, has done some tagging roles, but Cozzy's probably not the easiest guy to tag. just because he's lightning quick and he goes in centre bounds and then goes forward, it's probably not a role Windhager would be used to.
100%. Nah, Windy might take him at the bounce, and then Jimmy Webster will take him when he goes forward. Jimmy's physical. He'll fly for the ball with him. He's played on a number of pretty good smalls this season and done a good job. So I'd imagine it would just be a team effort of whenever he drifts down and Jimmy sees him, he'll take him. And then when he pushes up the ground more into the midfield and wants to get busy further up the ground, then that's when Windy takes him.
Yeah. I reckon it'll be probably Judd McVie that takes Higgins. He's probably our best lockdown defender. He's obviously good with the ball, but you'd want to free up someone like Jake Bowie and Salem and the like. Do you reckon St Kilda will have a look at tagging Jake Bowie? I think Sydney tried to do it with Jordan on Sunday.
I can't imagine. I don't think we've really aimed at, apart from centre bounce like work, I don't think we would. I think if we were to tag, I can just see it being in the midfield. I think I'm trying to think of who our half forwards might be. Obviously Max Hall, but he might be omitted. Filippo, he's not going to tag. Obviously, he's an attacker. Jack Higgins, Dan Butler, probably to come in. I can't see who. Brad Hill wouldn't tag. Mason Wood. Like I just can't see any. Like we would be, if we did do it and it's not Windy, we would be forcing a player that doesn't normally tag to tag just for the sake of it. And to me, that's pretty much changing what you do for the opposition way too much. And no disrespect to Bowie, but we've got bigger fish to fry in the midfield with Petrarca, Clary, and all these guys doing well in there. And obviously we didn't even mention Gawn, and Rowe's been so inconsistent this season. So, that's where the focus would be. It wouldn't be on Jake Bowie, as much as he is a great player.
Yeah, well, that's next on the run sheet, Gawn versus Marshall.
Yeah.
I think last year Gawn got the better of Marshall. I think Gawn had a goal in 27 and Marshall was less than 15 touches, and it was probably one of Rowan's worst games for the year. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
that was one of the bigger sort of differentials. I think that's probably the worst Rose played on Gawn, to be honest. And to be fair, we were playing shit football at the time, so I guess not much has changed. But I mean, Rowe just came off the back of his best game against the Eagles of the year, and he's just come in and again went back to like, we were both, like me and my mate in the stands were just like, what's going on? He doesn't look fit. He couldn't run. Jared Witts absolutely took him to the cleaners. So I'm a little worried about that matchup. It just depends again on which Rowe turns up, because he's played some great football this season, but he's also played some pretty average football.
Yeah, I think Witt's got the 6 coaches' votes as well. I do like Rowan Marshall, and I also wanted to ask another question on the prospect of Tom de Koning coming to the football club next season. I'm sure you've been asked by a lot of people about this, but personally, I think it is self-sabotaging, this move of recruiting de Koning on a 1.6, 1.7 mil a year contract.
Yeah. Look, to me, I think in itself, it may look like that, but if you look at the way Rowe's been playing this season, you look at the fact that we really don't have any other rucks coming through. I know some people tend to overrate the ruck, but obviously Melbourne can't. You've got one of the best ever, so you're not going to tell me that rucks aren't important, because they are. I think it unlocks the door a little bit for us to do other business. Obviously, it might look a little silly if we finish bottom 2, bottom 3, or whatever it might be. But if you're Tom de Koning, are you going to stay at a club that pays you 1.1 not to win a flag, or are you going to go to a club that pays you more, probably not to win a flag, let's face it, but it's more money? So I think he's a great player, and if we had him on the weekend or against the Blues, roles reversed, it could have changed the result. I think Rowe, as much as his best is very good, these are sort of the tough decisions, because clubs will then be linked to Rowe, right? And people need to. He's probably got the most value out of any player we could maybe move on, get a pick for, maybe then get back into the top 15 of the draft, get a mid there. I think it's a bigger picture than just getting TDK for that amount. I think it could also then be a domino effect of opening doors to Bergman, to Butters, who knows? Obviously, Lika Lee is another one that played on the weekend and looked really good. We're very closely linked to him. I think yeah, it's too early to say that's self-sabotaging because we don't know what's going to happen after that happens. And if it happens at all, we don't know. He might stay at Carlton.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because you've got guys like Filippo, who's from South Australia, as well as Nazar Wangani Malira, and ultimately these guys are going to have the go-home factor. It's been reported on Wangani Malira already. Would you not prefer to give them the big money contracts instead?
Well, does Filippo deserve big money right now? Has he proven himself?
No, obviously he's
There you
only
go.
been there for a couple of years, but
And he is going to sign. He's going to sign. So that one we don't have to worry about. Naz, it's not about the money because we can offer him whatever he wants. It's more if he wants to go back to Adelaide, we could offer him $5 million, and he probably still wants to go home. You can't. Money doesn't change go home factor because that's the point of go home factor is it's not about the money.
Yeah. I know you said Filippo hasn't proven himself, but we're talking about a 7-year contract here for TDK. Yeah. What happens in 5 years' time when you're hoping that you have other superstars, coming up? That's why I think it's self-sabotaging because, when we get to 5 years down the track and who knows what TDK is in 5 years, you could have derailing injuries, hopefully not. Yeah. Then, we might be looking at a similar situation to someone like Clayton Oliver right now, who's on a big money and isn't playing up to the money that's being paid.
I think we've got, it's been talked about, but from what I've heard internally, we've got quite a lot of salary cap space. So I think, in 5 years' time, Sinks and Jack Steele probably aren't playing, and they probably take up nearly $2 million in the cap space. Max King has notably got a long contract, but as Ross Lyon has stated many times, he's taken unders. Obviously, we don't know what the unders mean. It's probably upwards of $1 million anyway, but it's probably not what people think he's getting paid. And same with TDK. It could be heavily front-ended and then, less after the first 2 years. It could be, I think, someone said that it was going to be $2 million next year potentially, and then probably less from that on, from after the first year. So, to me, I'm just glad we're trying to be aggressive in this space. Like when a player like TDK is available and he's one of the best big men in the league, and if you've watched enough St Kilda like me, we struggle in that category. We do not have a big team. We do not have a physical team. And Rowan Marshall's, the elephant in the room with Rowe is his tap work is average. And TDK is quite good at that. So I'm not saying I'd rather keep Rowe and play him forward with King and have TDK in the ruck. That's my dream scenario. Whether Rowe would be okay with not being number one, I don't know. But that's my dream scenario. So Rowe can have that flexibility of not being thrown in the guts, 24 weeks a year and getting his body ripped apart.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, we went off on a bit of a tangent there.
No, it's okay.
I like the conversation.
Yeah, good question.
Let's circle back to the game. So obviously we're recording on a Tuesday afternoon, so we don't know the teams, but I just got a notification now that Jack Viney is back in selection. So I'm not sure a lot of Melbourne fans would be super excited with the prospect of Viney returning. He was in good form before he was concussed, playing tagging roles. I'm not sure... that might affect the dynamic of our midfield. Like, it's looking pretty good with Petrarca, Oliver, Pickett, Rivers, and then, Salem going through there as well. So I don't know if Viney necessarily makes us a better team, but it'd be pretty hard to leave out the reigning best and fairest.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I don't know what the weather's going to be like on the weekend. If you could just give him the week off, maybe it's too humid. I got no idea. Our midfield's not a midfield you probably need to tag at any point anyway. So his role, like you might have just said then, it just depends on what Melbourne's going to do. To me, it doesn't change any issues on our end. Like, I'm still with or without him. Obviously, I assumed we would play without him, and that was enough of an issue. If he comes in, it's just another sort of headache for us, but he's not the one I'm most worried about, obviously.
Yeah. And do you have any word about any potential changes for the Saints?
Just depends on who we want to omit. I think Alex Tyru's suspension is up, so whether he comes in to debut and play forward would be nice. That's my dream scenario. The Flying Viking. It'd be unreal to see that the blonde hair flying for Speckies in Alice Springs. And then possibly Darcy Wilson was pretty poor on the weekend. He has been for the last month. He might get a spell. We had Hugo Garcia, Jack Carroll, ex-Blue. They got best on grounds on the weekend in the VFL, so there's a chance that Jack Carroll might make his St Kilda debut. Max Heath, there's in the ruck to support Rowe. I'd say there's at least 2 or 3 changes coming, and no injuries, just omissions and inclusions.
Yeah. Let's look at the history between the teams. I mean, it's 34-36 all time for what it's worth, and Melbourne have also won the last 5. So I think the last time the Saints got up was in 2019 at Marvel late in that year when we were having a pretty shit season. So yeah, Saints haven't got the D's for a while, which I guess is something that we can hold on to. Do you have a favourite St Kilda win over Melbourne?
Comfortably, man. Comfortably. 2005 MCG, I was shitting myself going because I thought we were good, but I was nervous about playing the D's because I think they were up and about potentially when we played them. And we absolutely destroyed them by about 75 points. I think Gary kicked 7 or 8. Dal and Goddard got on the score. I think Matt Maguire kicked a few bombs from halfback. I just remember that's the most nervous before a game I can remember, like outside of finals, because I really thought you'd get us that day, and we just came out and completely blasted you. And there's nothing better than when the nerves just dissipate. Probably like some D's fans on the weekend, and you just dominate, and it's just an easy win. Like we haven't really we've played you in one final in my lifetime, I think, or at least that I've been to, and that was pretty average. So we won't talk about that. And then outside of that, I think we had did we go on a 10 or 12 game winning streak at one point? That was like the longest streak, wasn't it, at one point?
Well, I've got a quiz coming up soon, so that might be one of the questions. So I won't give the answer to that away. Yeah. But 2005, I can't say I remembered. I was only 1 year old, so
Jesus, really?
Yeah, I wasn't nervous for that game.
Let's just see. I just want to double check I'm not dreaming. What was the score?
I think. Was it? I mean, my favorite win would probably
round
be
4. Okay.
Yeah, it was early in the year. So I would have been less than a year old at that time.
Yeah, that was 150. Oh, it was 151 to 104. So that was
wow.
That's a very high scoring game. Yeah. Actually, maybe we played you. We could have played you later in the year, and it might have been a potentially bigger win. But yeah, we've had some good games over the years. Yeah. So
I'd take the 2021. I think it was round 2. The coming of Keziah Pickett. I think when he kicked those two goals.
Oh yeah. That was
special.
Was that the first? Oh no, that wasn't the first Spuds game, was it?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, it was the first Spuds game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, round 2 for our number 2. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember Jack Steele kicked a couple in that game, got us up and about, but it wasn't quite enough for memory. But yeah, Cozzy killed us that game. Hopefully not foreshadowing what's going to happen on the weekend.
Oh, it'll be hard to stop him. All right, Jake, I got 5 questions, and I'll be disappointed if you don't get 5 from 5, to be honest, because I don't reckon they're too difficult. And then we'll get into predictions after. All right, question 1. In 2015, St Kilda defeated Melbourne by 2 points. Who kicked the winner for the Saints?
Joey Montagna.
Yes, correct.
When the D's, who was it? Jeremy Howe kicked a goal moments before that to put you in front, and we rip your heart out. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And Paul Roos, this was before the 666 rule, and Paul Roos decided not to flood back the defence, I think just for education purposes.
Yeah, that win kept Alan Richardson in a job for another 2 years, so thanks for that.
Well, now he's at Dreamland.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, he's our GM. All right, question 2. In the past 4 years, Melbourne have recruited 3 players from St Kilda. Can you name all 3?
Billings, Dunstan, Tom Campbell.
Yeah, very easy. Very easy. Question 3. True or false? Nick Riewoldt has more All-Australian selections than Max Gawn?
False.
And for bonus points, do you know how many each?
I'm guessing. I think has Rui got 6 and Gawn got 7?
I think Rui has 5.
Oh, 5 and Gawn's got 7?
Yes. Yeah. Correct. All right, question 4. Melbourne broke St Kilda's win streak against them in 2016. How many consecutive losses did they have against the Saints prior?
Damn. What, 2016 it was? Okay. So 2004 you beat us. 5, 6. I'm thinking it was more... I can't remember the exact... I feel like we got to like silly range of like 13 or something.
You locking that in?
Not if you're asking me. I'm going to go 12. Was it 13?
Last chance.
I'll go 13.
All right. It was 14.
Fuck. Oh, really?
Yes, 14.
Mate, how can you let St Kilda beat you 14 times? I mean, you went through some tough times, but bloody hell.
And North, I think, had 17 on us as well. Like, just crazy. Like, yeah, can't believe we were at that low. We're losing to Saints 14 times in a row.
Yeah, that was... Well, I mean, to be fair, a lot of that would have been in our golden era of 04. Actually, no, 06 you beat us, but then 8, 9, 10, we were contending. So, yeah.
True. All right, last question. Who has more career Brownlow votes, Jack Steele or Jack Viney?
Ooh. I think Jack Steele.
Correct. You get 4 from 5 there, Jake. Well played. Jack Steele has 88 and Jack Viney has 83. So well done.
Well, that's pretty close, yeah, because I know Steely finished second, I think, or third in 2020, potentially? 2020?
2020 was equal third with Petrarca.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, huge.
All right, last words, predictions. Give me the predictions for Sunday, Arvo. Do the Saints have a chance?
Of course we have a chance. I mean, no disrespect to the D's, but it's in Alice Springs. It's in a unique situation. I think that makes it closer. I think if it was at the G in front of the 17,000 people that would have turned up for this game, it obviously would be very ominous for us. But I still like, without my Saints cap on, I'm going to go the D's by 11. I think it'll be a bit of a tricky game. Both teams have their chances to get the win, but on current form, I can't say that we're going to win. I think that'd be silly. So I'd go the D's by 11, but it's absolutely a game we could win. We've got the bye afterwards. I think. Do you have the bye afterwards as well?
No, we've got another 2 games after.
Oh,
I think.
Okay. So
we've got King's birthday.
Yeah, so we'll probably just give it everything because having a bye the week after apparently makes teams play better the game before. But yeah, it should be interesting. I don't even know how the external non-Saints D's fans would view this game.
Yeah, probably.
It's like one of those. Would you even watch it?
Oh, if it's a Sunday 3:20, if it's a standalone game, you might just have to watch it.
Yeah, just get locked in a room. I think I'm gonna do a watch along for it, so it can either go really well or really poor.
I might tune in at halftime and see what you're saying.
Look, it's funny how bullish, no offense, but how up and about the D supporters are all of a sudden.
No, I don't want to be delusional.
Very, very buoyant today. I can feel.
It's hard not to be, but I'm not sitting here saying we're going to win and we'll be comfortable. Not at all. I think every Melbourne fan, whilst they're excited at the moment, they're definitely realists and logical, and it'd be very Melbourne for us to drop this game. I'm not going to tip the Saints, but I'll tip the D's. But yeah, I'll tip them by 21 points. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be a blowout at all. I don't think Melbourne... I just don't see us putting 3 unbelievable weeks together in a row. So I think the Saints will be good.
I didn't think about that, getting up for the Brizzy game, then the Swans, and then to go to Alice Springs. You could easily see a little drop-off, especially because you just played the grand finalists and then you're just playing St Kilda. That's easily a sort of a one of those games that you could slip up on, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll see the DJ 21, and I think Cozzy kicks 4 goals. He likes it up there. I think he kicked 6 against Port one day. But otherwise, Jake, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate the chat. It's good to talk a bit of Saints. I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Saints. I worked at Danny Frawley Centre for a bit, so I saw the players around a bit and had some brief chats with them. So yeah, don't mind the Saints.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for having me on, mate, and good luck on the weekend.